It's like dead open, this bay, isn't it?
Yeah, you get a lot of light in now.
Anxiety's just kicked it.
Why?
Feel my heart there.
Yeah.
That's through my t-shirt, my jumper and my body warmer. You feel that?
Yeah, that's bad, that.
Screw missing there.
I took off a sun tray.
Oh yeah.
Good start.
Right, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are part 2 on the CLK 55 AMG. Bad news. We were fixing a few little niggles on the car. Just doing a couple of local road tests. We did an aircon regas. Passenger heated seat wasn't working. We found a broken wire under the seat for that. We repaired that. Basically, we were doing a few little jobs for the customer just to finish it off. We fitted some G paddles to the steering wheel. All was going great until we lost drive. No drive. No drive. That's in drive. So we lost drive, no forwards, no reverse. We were getting quite a high-pitched whining noise coming from the torque converter, which is a very distinctive high-pitched whine. So the gearbox is knackered basically, which when we serviced the gearbox, if you go back to part 1, we wasn't particularly happy with the condition of the fluid at all. We cannot tell what the condition of the inside of this gearbox is like. We can only go off what we can see, so I'm hoping that this gearbox is actually okay, but until we drive it down the road we just don't know, and I can't drive it like that, and obviously we need an MOT. A few people said in the comments about these suffering with coolant leak from the coolant radiator. The radiator is not only for the coolant, it's also the bottom section is for the gearbox cooler, and it can leak through into the gearbox, and we think that's what's happened in this case. A few people mentioned it in the comments on the last video. We obviously knew that was a known fault and had our suspicions, but we took a chance really, I suppose. We didn't really have a choice. So we've got a new radiator, genuine radiator from Mercedes. Wasn't too bad, that, it's about £400. I'd always recommend to get the genuine radiator because they have modified those radiators a good few times, so you want to make sure you've got the latest one on. And we are going to have to take the gearbox out, get a full refurbishment done, and also get the torque converter refurbished. Not the results we wanted, but that's how it goes. Well, it wasn't a deadline, but the customer would have liked it back by now, not because he was asking for it, because he is going away for 6 weeks. He's not got the car back, but I suppose that's given us a 6-week window whilst he's away to get his gearbox done. Not good news for us because we didn't really want the customer spending that much money. Not good news for him, he wasn't expecting to spend that much money. Obviously, as we all know, the car's super low mileage. I Google searched the registration because sometimes you can find some old adverts of when the cars have been for sale, and I actually found a video on YouTube of this car with this registration number showing a gearbox fault, and that was 2 or 3 years ago. So a bit of investigation work as well. We showed that video to the customer. He was as surprised as us. So I think that's why this car has been sat around for so long. The gearbox must have gone and nobody's wanted to fix it. So to get the gearbox out, got to take the bracket off, all the bell housing bolts that go all the way around the car, all the way around the block, sorry. Torque converter bolts, which will go through there. And we can get the gearbox out, obviously disconnect all the lines. We'll clean all the lines out when we fit the new radiator. And obviously we've got the radiator in here. Just taking the fluid back out. It looks clean, but It's not as pink as when it went in.
Orange.
Yeah. So I caught that.
Yeah, well. It's another thing you wanted that more.
That's it. Right, we're going to take the exhaust off just to give us a bit more room around the bell housing of the gearbox for it coming out. I don't think you have to take it off, but it'll definitely give us more room. We've disconnected all the lambda sensors and everything, ready. Disconnected the gearbox lines, started draining fluid, and then we can start concentrating on getting the gearbox out. Yeah, that's it. Have you got that? Otherwise that don't drop on my head.
Right, you know. Right, so we need to come towards you a bit, and then go.
Okay, just put it on the deck to the left for now. Moved everything out of the way, so we can now attack the gearbox. We're going to spin the engine round so we can locate the torque converter bolts. So we need to do all of those. We need to get this gearbox bracket off, which is attached to the mounting, which is attached to another bracket. And then that'll expose the back of the front prop coupling, and we can get to the nuts at the back. And then last job is to undo all the bell housing bolts all the way around the bell housing. Then we can get the box out. It is Thursday, it's a bank holiday weekend, and then we'll be going home. So that's one. Can't remember if there's 6 of these or 8. So all I'm doing is I'm going to put a strap round it onto the gearbox jack. So a bit more safety. Safety first.
We're in park here, aren't we?
Organise the bolt. Right, everything as far as we're aware is unbolted now. So we're going to start to get the gearbox wiggling to get it out. Oh, it's coming already.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah. So what you want to do is when you get to that position, you got a pry bar and just put it behind the torque converter to make sure it's stuck to the gearbox and not the engine,
So it's
because you'll pull it off and you'll get fluid absolutely everywhere. Is on there. Ah, see?
that's just gone, isn't it?
So that was stuck on the engine. So now it's on the gearbox. So lower it down a little bit. Go on.
Ooh. Oh. Stuck on something there.
Yeah. Whoa. Right, is that tight?
Yeah, tight.
Right. See if you can pull it back a little bit. Yeah. Okay, slowly.
Up.
Yeah, keep it at that speed.
Hope that torque converter don't fall out on you, son.
No, I've already whacked it back in.
Right, we're alright there, aren't we?
Nice and tight. So there you go, one CLK 55 AMG gearbox out. Get it to the gearbox repair shop. Get it back in. Whilst the gearbox has gone away for refurbishment, Nathan is cracking on replacing the radiator to get the faulty one out. Here you can see us injecting gearbox fluid into the cooler lines just to get all that old nasty fluid out, because we don't want any contamination at all. We just did that a good few times until it came out clear the other side, but we did that on both pipes obviously. New radiator going back in. Here we are putting the engine fan back in. Slam panel on at the top. Always remember to reconnect your bonnet latches, otherwise you'll close the bonnet and you won't be able to get it back open. Nathan just going over all the work before we finish, making sure everything's nice and tight. As always, giving everything a clean off as we go. Toolbox Cleaning Company products. We'll leave a link to their website with our discount code in the description below. Front grille back in. And that's pretty much that done. Top it up with coolant to finish it off. You hear me alright?
Yeah.
You on?
Yeah.
I was just going to say I'm ready when you are. To look poorly. Right, we've got the gearbox back up from the gearbox rebuild place. Gearbox is back, torque converter's back, so we've had a full gearbox rebuild, full torque converter rebuild. They've kindly given us some of the old bits back to show us how bad the contamination was, and give us all the clutches back. As you can see, the conductor plate, how rusty that is, the solenoids that sit inside it, just really bad. This is the valve body, which the conductor plate would normally sit on top. You can see inside. So basically it was knackered. Don't know why I'm trying to put it back together. It's not like it's going to go back in the car, is it? So we've had full rebuild, obviously all new clutches, we've had a new conductor plate, we've had a rebuilt valve body put in it. Total bill to have the gearbox and the torque converter rebuilt was £1,250 plus VAT. I don't think that's too bad. I think a torque converter on its own from Mercedes is about that price, so I'm really happy with that. Especially they've replaced the valve body as well. A valve body is about £600. Get a snap on, man.
Got my brand new toy.
And now the snap-on man's arrived. Back off the snap-on truck. So torque converter, you can see where they cut it in half to take the lid off it, and then they can replace everything in there and then weld it back shut. It's quite interesting really. So now we need to put some gearbox fluid inside the torque converter, get it back on the gearbox, get the gearbox back in, which is just the reverse of what we've already shown you, and then we'll see how she runs. Said see how many fingers you can get behind it. That needs to go on another latch. It's gone on the first one, but not the second one. Ah, there you go.
She goes.
As you could see then, it goes on, the torque converter kind of goes on the shaft twice, so you've got to make sure it goes all the way in, and you could hear the noise hopefully when it went clunk. All the way on. So now we need to roughly line up the torque converter with the flywheel. There's 2 bolts down. Right, let's get us some torches, Nave.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Perfect.
happy days. Ah, there we go. Look at that. Yeah, you've well gone, haven't you? So we didn't manage to get the gearbox filled up in time before we went home. Friday, it was another bank holiday. Had an haircut and a shave, so probably look a bit different. So we need to fill it up, reconnect the battery. I'll guarantee somebody by now, like we've done the whole gearbox, somebody's dying to comment, "You've not disconnected the battery." You know, because we didn't film it being disconnected. Or video connecting it back up. You just know it, don't you? You've took that strap off the gearbox, you've not disconnected the battery. A dry fill is 9 litres, so we're going to put 8 litres in, and we'd rather work our way up than having to drain fluid back out. Right, so we filled up the gearbox, obviously filled up the coolant after the radiator. We're going to reconnect the battery, then we can start it up, engage a few gears, check the gearbox fluid level. This isn't our normal workshop, by the way, this is our storage workshop, hence why there's a bit of a mess with having new windows and stuff, but long-term jobs, we get them in here out the way. Need to get in it. 55 AMG. So we are just going to plug in a basic diagnostic tool to get us a gearbox temperature reading. We're going to start it up, make sure we've got drive. Reverse. Is that wheel spinning? There's literally no fuel in this at all.
No fuel.
Sorry, drive. Didn't manage to get in the gearbox control unit on that little diagnostic, so I'm going to have to take it over to the big workshop. So we'll see if it drives. And we are moving. That clicking you can hear is from behind the dashboard. Really common fault on CLKs. I went into detail a bit more on it on our CLK buyer's guide. Whoa. Right, I have got the gearbox level somewhere near. Going to take it on a road test and fill it up with some fuel because we're not registering any fuel, so I hope we make it there. Can get the gearbox up to full temperature then, check the gearbox level again. See how she changes gear. Nice. So this gearbox is a continuously adapting gearbox, so it adapts to your driving style. So because the gearbox is essentially brand new, as in been rebuilt, it'll be adapting as we speak to how we're driving, but obviously we want to take it easy. But that continues throughout the gearbox's life. So if you bought one of these cars second hand and you started driving the car really hard, it would adapt to that and start altering how the gear shifts happen. A little bit of information for you. So far so good. No strange noises, no torque converter noises. While I was on holiday, the guys actually got the car fully serviced, oil filter, air filter, spark plugs, etc, etc. So the car's also been fully serviced. It's just a massive shame that this has happened when we thought we would be coming to the end. Drives so good, this car. I mean, I said that last time and then we broke down. The car is completely empty, so I'm going to fill it up to the absolute brim. So we'll see how much fuel we get in it from empty. Super unleaded. Right, bear with me. I'll go and fill up. I'll let you know how much a full tank is. 58.5 litres of super juice. 90 quid. Money well spent, if you ask me. To put in my, well, not in mine, but in my 5.5 litre V8 AMG. Smiles per gallon. Right, so we're going to take it down the bypass now. It's probably only 2-3 miles. Get the gearbox up to full running temperature. Make sure it's shifting good. Take it straight back to the garage. And then check the gearbox level once again. Put my air conditioning on. We've regassed the aircon successfully. Well, honestly, so far so good. It's driving really smooth. Gear shift is good, which you'd expect it to be. Well, it was last time as well, to be fair. So what we'll do, we'll try. We fitted some nice G paddles, they're called, which replaces the buttons behind the steering wheel. Better make sure they work. 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Yep. 35,963 miles. What a car. Right, back at the garage. Gotta pull it back into the workshop, plug it back in again, get the gearbox temperature, check it with the dipstick, and hopefully gearbox level is correct. So we've just plugged it back in on the diagnostics, and it's telling us that the transmission oil level is 83 degrees. So we've just used the dipstick to get a manual reading, and in between that peg and that peg is 80 degrees, and we are towards the top of the peg, so I'm happy with that. So anyway, gearbox level spot on. I'll check it again. You could say, oh, it's 83, not 80. Whoa, 3 degrees. So it's right at the top there. So really now we can start getting some miles on it and some better testing. Also, at the end of part 1, we had an issue where the car started taking too long to start. So I explained that we're going to have to take the fuel pumps back out of the car. So we took the fuel pumps out, and the one use time pipe that fits on the pump and goes to the main fuel feed to the engine, it wasn't seating properly, so it was allowing fuel to escape either side of the pipe, and we just couldn't get it to seal properly. So we ended up removing it and replacing it with some rubber fuel hose to cure that problem. So I have ordered a part that is not available from Mercedes for this, to finish it off nicely before I give the car back to the customer. I've just done a few little jobs. There's a couple of freebies to just say thanks type of thing. We do that on jobs as we go along. We do loads of little jobs actually on most cars that come in that the customers don't know about, because it's underneath the car and you can't see, or whatever, little clips and bolts. And anyway, the missing piece of the puzzle has arrived for this car. It's a part that you cannot buy from Mercedes. I have had one made. I found a company that makes them to order, so I'm going to show you what it is, get it fitted, and then this car's finished. While I've been waiting for this part, I've give the engine bay a clean. I have the seatbelt button, you can probably see there, was missing, so the seatbelt was just falling all the way to the floor. So we stuck a nice new button on there. Just little bits and bobs that finish projects off nicely. So final little piece, so as a little thank you for him, apart from all the bits and bobs we've done. We've had that made to go in there. Off Mercedes, you've got to buy the full cover. It's about 150 quid. This was 40 quid. It's a good saving. There's no way we could have done all that work and not done that, is there? I think I shoved a centre cap in mine. I got an old centre cap and chopped it down and shoved it in. Right, well I think that finishes this project nicely. It's gone on for months, this part 2, because I've not been well for months. Hopefully there's not a part 3. Hope you like that. Like and subscribe. Plenty more content to come. Nice one. Thought we'd go through how much it's cost to get this car back on the road. Obviously it's a lot, but we've also done a lot. So I'm not going to go through individual prices. I'll just fire through. We have done a lot of stuff with a bit of discount. Some stuff we've even done for free, little bits and pieces. But to give you an idea, so he's had a B service, a gearbox service, a differential oil change, MOT, bonnet cables, fuel pumps in the tank, 2 front alloy suspension arms, front and rear brake hoses, brake fluid change. He fitted a new siren, anti-roll bar bushes, spark plugs, battery, tracking, air conditioning regas, crankshaft sensor, pair wiring to passenger side heated seat, diagnostics, fit the G pedals, air filters, pollen filter, loads of gearbox fluid, front discs and pads, rear discs and pads, auxiliary belt, front wipers, place the radiator, take the gearbox out, send the gearbox away for rebuild. We then also had to send the torque converter away to be rebuilt, 2 completely different companies. Oh, he asked me to get him a spare key, so I've got him a spare key. And that's about it. There's probably more, but total £6,700. And that is a lot of it at discount, a lot of it parts supplied, quite a few little freebies. So £6,700. I'm happy, the customer's happy. We're now on 36,000 miles exactly. I've been driving it round, picking up parts and stuff to make sure this gearbox is good. Customer's not local. That's it. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.